Hey everyone, welcome to Saturday Night Popcorn. This is Jason.
And this is Kai, and we have another great discussion for you today. We're kicking off a new month, July 2024. We're watching summer blockbusters. It took us a second to figure out which summer blockbusters we actually went to watch for this month, but we figured it out. And our first one is Spider-Man from 2002.
Yeah.
So it's old enough to drink. Still want to give everyone a spoiler warning if you haven't seen them. I know not everyone's seen the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man series, the trilogy. So, yeah, spoiler warning, and we'll get into it after Jason reads the description.
Yeah. This is the first Spider-Man in like the trio of Spider-Mans that we've seen over the last few years and stuff. But
Yeah,
so as a summary of Spider-Man from 2002, in Spider-Man directed by Sam Raimi, Peter Parker, a high school student played by Tobey Maguire, gains superpowers after being bitten by a genetically modified spider. Following the tragic death of his uncle Ben, Peter embraces his role as Spider Man to fight crime in New York City. He faces his greatest challenge in the form of the Green Goblin, the alter ego of Norman Osborn, played by Willem Dafoe, who threatens those that Peter loves. The film explores themes of responsibility and sacrifice, encapsulated in the iconic line, "With great power comes great responsibility." I feel like I hear that line in Stan Lee's voice.
so, honestly,
Yeah, right.
it was a perfect voice for it. It's we've seen. I think you and I both have seen all the Spider-Man films or shows that have come out over the
I think
years,
so, right?
like the '90s show, 2000s, all that good stuff. It's weird, like having seen Into the Spider Verse, even the short that we watched like a few months ago, and then the most recent movie, and then the most recent Tom Holland film that had all three Tom Holland, Toby, and Andrew Garfield. Like to go back and watch the original before there was MCU and see how much and kind of compare to see how much things have changed with like CGI and filming style.
Yeah, I think for me the most notable difference, like CGI, you know that like you're saying that you said that this movie can legally drink based off its age and everything.
Yeah.
Like you expect CGI to kind of fall off a cliff at some point because there's sometimes where it's like it this movie definitely you can see it where like it falls off the cliff.
You see
Um,
some clunkiness for sure.
yeah, but I think film style is exactly what's like you notice a difference, and I think
Hmm.
it's basically just because of Sam Raimi and everything and his background. But you see, this is also still like a 2000s film, like an early
Yeah.
2000s film, so you kind of get
It's like
that
the
sense.
weird practicals, but hey, let's use CGI and we have to use a statue or like a stunt man for Toby to do some of these
Yeah,
acrobatic thing. It was, yeah, it's a weird combination of things.
there's big set pieces, like things that you
Yeah.
see, like if you go to like the Hollywood studios kind of theme park and everything, you see like things kind of fall apart how you would believe in the movies, how they get that action shot. It reminds me it the one scene that reminds me exactly of that is when at like the kind of fair or like the day that they have within where like or like Osborn comes and like blows up those dudes that he doesn't want to have in his company anymore. But
Hmm.
MJ kind of falls onto like the balcony that's like gonna fall off. You can tell that's like a giant set piece, but like
Yes.
it just looks like you can tell she's probably like 5 feet off the ground. But but
And they probably,
it's like
they timed it like, okay, in 5 seconds, all of this is going to fall. Just looks shocked.
yeah, hey, but yeah, that's sort of what you get with all this, and it matches the style. Where,
Yeah.
like you said, with the Marvel universe, it's like everything's CGI. They're just kind of like
Yeah.
standing on a green box and looking over, and it's like, oh, that's a big cliff and everything.
Yeah. Because there's a scene in Doctor Strange 2 during, I don't remember Rachel McAdams' character's name in that series, but she's getting married, and I think everyone runs out to a balcony at some point, like looks into the sky. And that scene you're talking about with MJ was reminiscent of that. But to think, oh, they would have shot it on just like a platform with green screen, blue screen, whatever, and got the same results as they did with a practical set in '02.
Yeah, same results and everything. But I don't know. I like the quirkiness of the 2002.
Oh, the practical.
I can imagine that the Kirsten Dunst is playing MJ at that moment is like actually like if this thing falls apart, I can get hurt at some point.
I can get messed up. Like there's no stunt double. This is me.
Yeah. On your end with the MCU, man, if one of them shows up drunk and everything and decides to fall off the, the little 5 foot
It's just
platform.
like it's only 3 feet off the ground. You're good. Like the one thing that I noticed as I was watching this was how nerdy Tom Holland's Spider-Man feels versus like Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
Tobey
Like
Maguire, right?
Tobey Maguire, sorry,
Yeah.
yeah. So Tobey Maguire. Because yeah, the more recent two, Andrew and Tom, they're nerds. Like they're your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, but they just don't feel as like helpless as Tobey.
That's exactly like Patty when sitting next to me watching this movie last night. She was like, "You fall in love with Tobey Maguire." It's like you feel it. You feel the awkwardness of him
Yeah.
trying to like talk
to a
MJ
lady,
and
yeah.
Yeah, and it's like Andrew Garfield, I think, was a different choice, but he just looks too like
He was the cool Spider-Man.
manly. Yeah, he was like the cool Spider-Man,
Mhm.
and then Tom Holland plays like the good kind of younger Spider-Man. I think that they hit it
Yeah.
out of the ballpark with that. But Patty was like, you can tell he's playing a character. Like Tobey Maguire looks like he just showed up and like is like acting himself.
Just start acting. Here's a script. Use it if you want. Just say whatever you feel.
It's like, yeah, I can't talk to that chick, Kirsten Dunst.
I have a love interest. Oh no, 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 no.
But I don't know. Yeah, it's like he's very lovable, and I think that's like what like makes this movie. I feel like is like the best Spider-Man movie you can watch, where everyone kind of fits into their roles perfectly. Willem Dafoe is like probably like
Oh, he's a beast.
yeah, like
He's
he
a
is
psychopath.
Like, you're
Like
scared of him.
I remember like when this came out, and we were kids, so like I went to the theater, I think with my mom, and we watched this, and I remember being freaked out about the Green Goblin. Like, oh, this is gonna give me nightmares for sure.
Yeah, when he like transforms, that whole scene where like he's in that tube and he's like shaking and everything.
Yeah.
I remember when I was a kid, that thing scared the crap out of me.
Well, and even just like the voice, like the little voice change from like Norm to Green Goblin, you're like, oh, okay, it's a different person.
Yeah, I think there's that also that other scene where he's like talking to himself in the mirror, and it's like both of them.
Yes.
His performance in that is like crazy good. It just adds to the layer of like these are like it's very comic booky. Like you can tell like Sam Raimi took a lot of comic book influence,
Yeah.
but then these people that play these characters are like over the top, but it adds to like the characters and stuff. Like that's what you expect. You're reading the comic books and you're like these guys are over the top. Like Green Goblin's like a crazy mad person, and then like
I
you're seeing
think
it on screen.
I think Jake Gyllenhaal did a good job at that when he was Mysterio.
I think so too. But Jake Gyllenhaal was actually like he seemed like he put in a lot of work to be like that mysterious, like where he's like he's smarter than everybody. He understands like what's going on, but his like superpowers are not actually like real superpowers. He's just
CGI
smart.
superpowers.
Yeah, right. It's like CGI. It's Inception within Inception.
Yeah, truly.
I don't know. I feel like for me the best parts of this movie is the intro, basically like his origin story. It's like I feel like this origin story should be the origin story like no other movie in the future should ever have an origin story anymore, because it's like you tell people just watch Sam Raimi's 2002 Spider-Man, and you get what Spider-Man is.
Yeah.
Because
You're talking about like the quirkiness of him trying to get on the bus, getting bit by the spider,
it's just
his
everything,
interactions
yeah.
with.
Getting bit on the spider. I like how they conveyed the spider sense, where like everything kind of slows down for him and everything. Where
Yeah.
like he like recognizes that there's something. It's not like the Flash style where like everything slows
They're
down and like
slowed
there's like
down.
yeah. Where
It's like key
this
things.
you can tell he's reacting to something.
Hmm.
So it's like very interesting to kind of see, especially when he like also fights Flash, where it's just like he's just like you kind of get a sense of like he's slowing down everything because he's reacting to it, but then it switches to where he's just like he's like a ninja where he's like I can do whatever I want and stuff, and like he's flipping 2 or 3 times in the air in front of everybody.
I got a question for you. Did they think people in the 2000s were just didn't understand age? Because Flash, Joe Manganiello, looked way too old to be in high school in this movie.
He was gigantic. He was a monster.
Yes, yes. And just to see it, like he looks the same now, like he looks great, but to watch this and be like, that dude's in high school? Like how many years did he get held back? That's the first thing that came to my mind. Because
Yeah,
looking at the Flash, Thompson, and Tom Holland's Spider-Verse, it's like, oh, this is a kid
yeah, he definitely
versus
looks
Joe
like
Manganiello. It's like, dude, you're gigantic. What are you doing here?
he's like 30 years old and
Yeah. Just
yeah,
shaved before class.
that's sort of what I wanted to ask you too, where it's like I was watching it last night, and then there was like an interaction between Tobey Maguire's character Spider Man and then Kirsten Dunst, where like they're talking at night
Hmm.
before Joe shows up with this like cool car and everything, and then that
Oh,
kind of like
yeah.
sets the sequence for Ben dying. But I was gonna ask you, like, do these people seem believable as high school students, or like doing that transition from high school to like their real lives? And it's like what they're technically supposed to be 18 years old, but
Yeah, because they were seniors. Yeah.
yeah, so it's like
17, 18.
you do see some video of like people graduating or like hanging out in high school from like
Mm.
the 90s, and they look like much more adult than like
Grizzled.
than they should be. Yeah, it's like man, like they're all drinking their milk and eating their Wheaties. So I
that's
don't know. It's hard.
that's
It's
true.
hard.
Yeah. I couldn't I couldn't fully buy into it. Because
That's where
yeah,
Tom
mhm.
Holland's character, you definitely feel it, where like
You feel it.
he
Yeah.
feels that he fills in that young kind of Spider-Man and
Hmm.
the stumbling over everything and all that stuff. Like I think that's what makes Tom Holland's character or portrayal of Spider-Man better or good on his sense. But Tobey Maguire's probably like what, like he's like 30 years old probably at that moment.
Most likely, yeah. Mid 20s, early 30s, maybe.
Yeah,
The
you
one
saw it
thing
when
you
they
were
brought
talking
him
about the
back.
Spidey sense. True,
Uh-huh.
yeah. Because he was the old man Spider-Man. He had back
Yeah.
issues and all kinds of shit.
Yeah.
You were talking about the Spidey sense. I liked how Into the Spider-Verse did it, or like that trilogy
Uh,
has done the Spidey senses. Yeah,
yeah, that definitely like matches the comic book, where like in the
yeah.
comic books it's like this like weird like design that goes around his head, and like he like
So you understand
yeah,
something.
you
Yeah.
can tell he's like figuring something out and stuff, and like that's a very visual way to do it, to kind of like make it stand out that like oh there's something different that he's processing than the rest of
Hmm.
our us normal people.
The normies.
Yeah, I don't know. What'd you like best about this movie? I really like the whole origin story, and I think for me, my judgment is that no one else should do an origin story. Like he did it perfectly.
um, yeah, the origin story was. I enjoyed the origin story. I enjoyed the fighting. Like I really enjoyed being an adult and watching it. I enjoyed Green Goblin. As a kid, I was scared and was like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm gonna have nightmares for the next week. But watching him as an adult, like seeing him in this, and then thinking about how he portrayed Green Goblin in what's the newest Tom Holland one with all three Spider-Man?
No Way
No Way
Home.
Home? No,
I think
is it No Way Home?
Far From Home.
Okay, I don't remember.
Very
One of the
similar
homes.
titles.
Yeah. Uh, I really enjoyed his portrayal of Green Goblin. I think
Yeah.
that's what I like most about the film.
Yeah, it matches his portrayal from the first film. Like his like kind of like insane. Like you can tell there's something right behind his eyeballs, like not
Yeah,
pulling the strings.
like he's actually not
Yeah,
coherent. There's
yeah,
something else.
yeah.
So yeah, I think that
That's
was my
true.
favorite part.
I enjoy that. It's funny because like Willem Dafoe's portrayal of the Green Goblin, and then the whole all of the aspect of the movie from Sam Raimi. It's more of an adult
Hmm.
version of Spider-Man. Like
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
this is not like what because Marvel had to figure out how to do it where it's like portrayed to like all
they had to kid it
ages.
up.
Yeah, to
Yeah,
make sure the kids watch it. This movie, I think we watched it because like our parents went with us, and I think our parents didn't
yeah.
care like what we saw. Like, hey, like
They're like, oh, it's
you
Spider
know,
Man.
this
He's a
is
comic book character.
yeah, just don't
Yeah.
punch your brother later. But like it, like, but then there's a lot of adult like themes to this where it's like there's a lot of adult themes in general from transitioning from high school to your adult life, but then you also deal
Yeah.
with Uncle Ben's death and everything, and there's a lot of like I think Spider-Man himself like says like a bad word like multiple times throughout the movie, so it's like that's not very expected. It's almost like shocking.
It's not very Disney. Yeah. It's not
And
Disney
then
friendly for
I
sure.
wanted to ask you, technically
Yeah.
Spider-Man killed a person. Right? Like he tripped over,
E-
like you can kind of say like
yeah.
but he
Yeah.
was the
But they're going to
villain.
look past that. Yeah. They're going to look past it. It's okay. He's Spider Man.
But he's not Batman. Batman like really goes out of his way to like not kill
Oh,
people.
Batman doesn't care. Yeah. Without a gun. He's just like, I'm going to beat you senseless.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you see anything bad about this movie?
I would just say this, like, it's nitpicky, but I would say the CGI. That's the only thing that kind of stood out. There were moments where you really saw, like, oh, this is O2. Like, this is look, on the bridge when when Toby was Spider Man was trying to save MJ and also trying to save the trolley
Uh,
or whatever the tram, whatever the
whatever
heck
it
that
is,
thing's
yeah.
called. Yeah, there were moments where it seemed like the CGI was trying to catch up with the scene, so it was a little slow. That's that's what I would call out as that's a dislike actually. And then in the beginning, the origin of how he became Spider Man, when they're in that lab and the tour guide points out like, oh, these are the spiders that we've been experimenting on, and MJ points out, hey, we're missing aren't you missing a spider? And she's like nonchalant about it, like, oh yeah, maybe.
Someone has
that
it.
that was a big dislike. Like, you're experimenting on these spiders, you don't really know exactly what each one of them does for sure, and one is out and you're just like, eh, couldn't have gotten far.
And the rest of the scientists were like, "Do you have it? Do you have it?"
Yeah, for real. Like, is it in your pocket? Like, where is it? Those are my two dislikes,
Well,
and they're
2000s
super
era was like
nitpicky.
accidents were gonna
Yeah.
happen all the time. But actually,
Like,
for
they'll
me,
figure it out.
I don't know how you watched the movie. I watched it on Disney Plus,
Hmm.
and
I did too.
granted, if you have a TV that can like really and like you have your internet, but Disney Plus, I've noticed they like everything's 4K. So like every show and
Oh, you see all
movie
the
that they have is
grain.
4K. So when
Hmm.
you have this, like they try to upscale this movie into 4K, you can tell it was either like really hard to do or it's not the correct movie to do it because it is visually it looks grainy and everything
Hmm.
and it's kind of hard to watch at the beginning. I would have liked to watch just a normal kind of like an HD kind of like version of it.
Yeah.
It's like all right, like we not all of us can do 4K and stuff, and like not all movies should be in 4K. I think.
No.
So that's like more of a technical thing that like it was hard to watch. For me, I was struggling with like, is this movie a little bit too long? Because there's some points where I
Mm.
was like, I saw the timeline and I was like, man, this is a 2 hour movie. But
Yeah.
I'm like, I enjoyed every moment of it. But then it's like, there's sometimes where I'm like, I was sitting there like, is this like going on a little bit too long? So I think that's just like me being nitpicky with it too, where it's like, I don't know if like but then it's like, all right, you shorten it to like maybe like you shorten it by 15 minutes and stuff. Like you
like
kind of like
145. Yeah,
just do a little bit more like kind of action
I
sequences and stuff.
I think they could have taken out like some of the what the heck is James Franco's name?
Harry
Is he?
Osborn.
No, he's not Norm. Harry.
Mm.
They could have taken out some of his scenes. He was just crying the whole time, and then it felt like they focused on what was going on in MJ's house, but there was no resolution to it.
Yeah, that
Like
was almost like just
Toby,
setting up that like MJ deals with like some stupid shit, like crap in
yeah,
her
like
life
her
and everything.
dad's a
But then
piece
it's
of
like,
shit.
yeah, but then it like
But
yeah, it doesn't end.
yeah, like Toby's a piece of shit friend for being like, oh, I hear it every day and try to play it off like, oh, I've never heard it. Like, call the police, tell somebody, like, hey, something's going on in this house. But the fact that they kept focusing on it and there was nothing that came about was just like, okay, why do you keep highlighting this?
That's true. That's true. And it's like, yeah, like
So
that's
that could have
probably
been
is like a
taken out.
definite like 15 minutes that you can probably take out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's like you're not
I'm just
watching this
taking out
movie
the
for MJ.
trash.
You're not watching the
No,
movie for like the backstory and like the origin story of MJ. Like you're looking for like Spider-Man and everything and Tobey
yeah,
Maguire. So yeah, that was like the one like where I was like, I think this probably could have been a little shorter. But then I wonder if it was a little shorter, I would have been like, I wanted more Spider-Man.
I think if they would have taken out that and then added more Spider-Man, like him,
Maybe.
now because they showed him designing the suit, maybe more fighting and him like learning how to swing on his webs. That would have been kind of cool. Like 15 minutes of that kind of sprinkled throughout the film, and less of Harry and MJ. I would have been like,
Yeah,
this is cool.
I think so. Now, with that, like, who do you recommend this to? I think anybody that's our age has already seen this movie multiple times. I probably will be
Yeah,
watching
most
Spider-Man
likely.
2 tonight. I got other stuff to watch,
I've
but
been
I
on
probably will.
no, I've been on a Despicable Me and Minions
Oh
kick.
yeah.
I watched number 4 yesterday. um, I would definitely say because it's not really part of the MCU, right? It's its own trilogy.
It's its own trilogy, but now that they like shoved him into the Tom Holland, like with the rest of the two, it's that's the whole
Yeah,
multiverse thing that they were doing, or that they are doing.
trying to
But
figure out.
yeah, but
Yeah,
this is its own trilogy, basically.
I would say any Spider-Man fan, Marvel fan. I think it's just a trilogy that you have to watch, like if you're into those superhero films.
I think so. It's very unique to see a person that primarily does horror in terms of
Horror.
their
Hmm.
directing background and does a Spider-Man movie or like a superhero movie. Like
Yeah.
it was crazy to like see that like Sam Raimi was like being called out to do that Doctor Strange, the man whatever multiverse of madness, that's what it's
Oh,
called.
multiverse.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's like it's very interesting to see that they're like this person, like if you look back at his filmography, there's like a bunch of horror stuff. And so
But
it's
I
like,
think
whoa.
Doctor Strange fit him though.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
he could have turned up the horror. That would have been dope. But
Hmm.
I think that is more his lane because it's that mix of superhero, fantasy, adventure, and horror. Like
Yeah.
Spider-Man, especially at the time, that people were probably like, Sam Raimi's gonna direct the first ever Spider-Man.
Yeah,
They were probably freaking out.
it's odd to think about.
Yeah,
But he does hit it out of the
he gave us a
ballpark.
great Green
Yeah.
Goblin. I'll give him that. Yeah,
I and even a Spider-Man, I think. I think a really good
true. Yeah,
Spider-Man is a
okay.
good choice.
I can't talk bad about that.
Good choice for that. But I think anybody that like wants to see like if you're like looking to watch everything that's like Sam Raimi has ever touched, these Spider-Man movies is like exactly what you need to watch too because it's like an
Yeah.
interesting kind of tidbit in his filmography where it's like, oh, there's like this horror and then this weird Spider-Man movie.
Some superhero. Before there was an MCU, he had a Spider-Man movie.
I would believe anybody that like watches like current Tom Holland. I know everyone loves Tom Holland and Tom Holland's good as Spider-Man right now, but if you have like any like dislike of Tom Holland's portrayal of Spider-Man, watch Tobey Maguire's. Don't watch Andrew Garfield's. Like if you want to, it's whatever. But Tobey Maguire's portrayal of Spider-Man is like exactly I think what everyone should watch as a Spider-Man or
Yeah.
like what they should do as like the next Spider-Man, and if they're chosen as that. But yeah, what'd you end up giving this movie? What would you end up rating it?
I don't remember. I don't think I actually rated it. Um, I think I gave it like I would give it, since I haven't put the rating in, I'll give it 3.5.
Yeah, I gave it a solid
Yeah.
4. I was like, this is like a fairly like I enjoyed this, especially for like a 2000 film or 2000 movie and
Mhm.
everything. Like once you look past like the 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 quirkiness of 2000, where like everything's kind of like a little bit over the top and everything, but it matches for this where it's a comic book and everything, and like you're visually showing a comic book on screen and moving images. So yeah, I gave it a solid
Before
4.
there was before there was a prototype too, because now there's a prototype for all these superhero films. Like they
Yeah,
all kind of look cookie cutter. Back then it was like, I remember the first X-Men that came out, and everybody was like freaking out, like, oh, the X-Men film. Spider-Man was in that same vein, so these directors were able to figure out like, okay, this is what I want it to look like and feel like. Versus now, it's like, oh, hey, we already have that foundation. You just have to build on top of it. Don't stray too much away from what we already have set.
yeah. Don't do too much of your style. Do what we
Yeah.
show you right now and stuff. And that's where like you kind of get the sadness of like Taika and everything. I think Taika was able to do some of his style in the Thor movie, but I think probably Taika could have done a little bit more and like made a a different Thor movie, like in his style and stuff. But
But I think he did though, because Ragnarok was great. I don't know what the hell they did with the. I don't even remember the
the
name of
last
it.
one,
This,
yeah,
yeah,
the
I don't remember. It was
yeah,
bad though,
yeah,
because
Ragnarok
like
was good.
Ragnarok was amazing. Yeah, and then to go to the newest one, you're like, what?
Yeah,
Who
Christian
crossed
Bale
wires
just
and
kind of like
decided to make it a
wasted
comedy?
Christian
But
Bale's time and everything.
yeah, because that could have been a dope villain.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but we
even Lady
digress.
Thor was too short. Yeah, okay, sorry, that's for another episode.
But yeah, so let us know if you've seen it and want to put it in the comments if you liked it, disliked it. And Kai, you want to take us out?
I love how you already started down the path. Yeah, thanks for joining us for another episode of Saturday Night Popcorn. I'm Kai.
And I'm Jason, and we'll be back next week with another one. And please like and subscribe to Saturday Night Popcorn for more podcasts like these.